Hey everybody, I'm Scott Allen Miller, and this is my daily vlog of life in Nicaragua. And today I'm doing my very first video from here in the office. And sorry for the echo. I don't know how that's going to sound on the video, but I got a question sent in by Jay this evening, and I'm waiting for all the uploads to happen from all the recording that I did today before I do my editing tonight. And it gave me a chance that I'm sitting here. I'm in the brand new office I just moved into. I've barely gotten anything done, but my computer is set up. And I'm going to answer this question. The question is long enough that it deserves a video, so we're doing a special extra video today. So I'm going to read this from Jay. I'm going to read what he writes and then respond as we go. I picked, I'm missing the beginning. I'm a disabled veteran with a 100% disability rating from the VA. I guess I would have a concern about the medical services down there. How are you finding them, even if you have to pay out of pocket? So let's start right there. That's probably the biggest question, right? How are the medical services here? If I'm 100% disabled from the VA, there's an opportunity there for the medical services to not be what you're looking for. That's a possibility. I just want to get that out there. But in general, medical services here in Nicaragua are quite good. The doctors are very attentive. They care a lot. The cost is extremely low, so you're able to, in almost all cases, simply pay out of pocket for private healthcare, which can be excellent. There are in the capital amazing hospitals, and here in Leon, a new region class hospital is being built, very large. It should be up in about 2 years, I believe. We've had the interruptions in the electricity and everything from the construction of it going on since we got here, and you can see it's well underway when we drive by. So that's a very real project going on. Several new hospitals have opened up in the country since we've been here over the last 2 years. So medical is something that they take very seriously here. There is generally quite good healthcare, far better than you would ever imagine. But if you it depends on your needs. Are you disabled because you have severe arthritis? You may be completely fine here. Are you disabled because of normal issues that just happen? Yeah, might be fine. Are you disabled because of something really, really rare? You may need special care, and you'll need to check here. But there are hospitals like Vivian Pellis in Managua are famous for their excellent healthcare. And even if you do have to pay out of pocket, there's private insurance that can offset that, and there's a lot of options. So in general, and I have to couch this, but in general, healthcare is actually a reason to move to Nicaragua compared to like the United States, because you can get better care, more attentive doctors at a much lower cost, and your access to that care is generally excellent. And if you need specialty care, getting to specialty care from here is often pretty easy. Places like Colombia and Mexico have some amazing healthcare, and getting there from here in case you need it, unless it's acute care, such as like a heart attack, you would want that in country. But if it's more longer term care, you have access to those things as well. So definitely consider Nicaragua, but it's going to be specific to your medical needs, unfortunately. It's not a blanket. It's great, but in general, it is pretty good. And certainly every experience that we've had firsthand here has been quite excellent, whether it's their COVID response or dealing with a heart attack or dealing with muscle spasms and not being able to travel from home to just cost or whatever. So in general, we recommend, because of the quality of care at low cost, you should consider Nicaragua. All right, I picked the DR over Nicaragua because back when I was looking, it was during the riots and everything going on down here in Nicaragua, and I was going to give it a second look as things are quite peaceful now. In DR, medical services are bad. From my own personal experiences, bad and expensive. I have an apartment there now and everything, but maybe I could put that up on Airbnb and experience Nicaragua some of the year. Absolutely. Going back and forth is actually pretty easy as one of the few countries that has direct connections to Nicaragua once in a while. No idea how expensive the direct connections are. Never looked into it. I'm doing it in 2025. That's the first that I will experience it. One thing I like about the DR, though, is every time I go back, I can pack up a Home Depot box and just fly in with all my checked luggage and put stuff up at home there. Customs at the airport are never interested in picking through my imports to tax me down to the very last penny that they could get out of me. Any comments about customs in Nicaragua? I've seen some scary tales on YouTube about drones where people have even had them confiscated. Not sure what that's like for regular home stuff. I know Costa Rica is pretty bad for bringing items to the airport. They really have a lot of enforcement there. Okay, so Nicaragua is going to be more like Costa Rica here. The enforcement is very strong. The amount of things you can bring in is very limited. If you're bringing in purely home goods that would be something you would use as a vacationer, you're probably okay. If you're trying to bring in electronics, extra cell phones, extra laptops, specialty computers like video game machines, if you're bringing in any kind of commercial product, commercial kitchen products even, those things are going to get dinged and taxed because they could be used to start a business here. So you're going to pay taxes as if you're starting a business. If they have absolutely no purpose, because keep in mind, even video game machines, that is a major business here, right? Running video game parlors. And so bringing those things in is the ability to start a commercial business. You're going to be taxed on it. So they are very picky about that. Do not be surprised when they look through all your stuff, ask you a lot of questions, and potentially you have a bit of taxes to pay. The thing about drones are illegal here. Of course, if someone tried to bring them in, they got confiscated. That's what's supposed to happen. If someone didn't confiscate it, they got really, really lucky or didn't get caught. So that's not a thing I would recommend trying to take a chance on. If you get caught with a drone, they're going to definitely look through all your stuff to see what else you have. Those are not exactly horror stories. Those are people smuggling and got caught, right? So you expect, in fact, the fact that all they had was their drone confiscated really shows how light the enforcement is. If that was the United States and you were bringing in something that was so clearly illegal, that would have been deportation or jail. So Nicaragua's very lax, actually. It's just that they specifically were bringing in an item they couldn't bring in. I'm currently in Miami working from home in order to make up for some losses I had in the stock market, but my home job as a Spanish telephone interpreter won't just let me fly anywhere I want to take calls from Nicaragua or DR. You could always just try doing it. How would they know? I figure in February I'll be able to live on my disability benefits overseas and without a job while still paying off debt for the place I bought in the DR, but an extra income like working from home would be handy still. The bad thing is most jobs on Indeed say remote, but when they specify an area in the US you must be working from. You are correct. They lie. What they mean is the term work from home, home being in the US. They don't mean remote, remote meaning somewhere far away. I've seen the same thing. It is completely true. Everyone's lying about it now, which is weird. They know everybody wants remote. And I'm sure they've had some bad experiences. In Nicaragua, they would know you were working from someplace else because your internet and power would be so much more reliable than your American counterparts that when you're online all the time and able to take calls without any problems with your internet, it would be a tip-off, a red flag that you were not in the U.S. anymore. That's only half tongue-in-cheek. We have excellent infrastructure here, and specifically, one of the reasons my staff is based here is because no one can tell you're not in the U.S. because the quality of your internet is so good that it appears like a U.S. location. The speed of your connection to the U.S. is that fast. And I work for a technology company. Like when I say it looks like the U.S., I mean it actually measures faster than much of the U.S. I was telling you what Claro charges me for home internet in DR. It seems like Claro in Nicaragua gives you more for less, for sure. However, I've heard some horror stories about the electricity billing down there, where if you use a small amount, the service is free. If you go over, it's actually very expensive. A solution to that, in my opinion, would be going solar. What's your experience with the electric down there? So I've been here for 7 years, on and off, and certainly electricity here is expensive. No getting around it. You also use less of it than in other places. So while the rate is really expensive, the total bill is normally acceptable. If you live like a Nicaraguan, meaning not working from home in most cases and not using air conditioning and not heating your water, then your bill, yes, will probably be extremely low. Basically, they subsidize the bill for low income or very low usage to make sure it's affordable for them, very affordable. Once you start using any amount of electricity, you're in the normal billing rates and you will pay more than you would, say, in the United States generally. But again, your usage is probably less. Lifestyles here and the need for air conditioning being so much less than in the US normally, often those bills are lower. When I lived here in 2015, we ran air conditioning like crazy. We had little kids who couldn't handle the heat, and we were looking at about $400 per month. When we're here now, we have many more people. We're running offices out of the house. We're running 7 air conditioners. Our bill can be as high as $600, but it can be as low as like $200. That's kind of the range. That may seem really high, but let me give you the actual range from the United States. When I lived in the US 2 years ago, my bill was between $200 and $400 per month. When I had Rachel as my roommate in the house, the bill once hit over $800 a month. So while my bill is high here in Nicaragua, much higher than most people would accept, it is less than my bill was in the United States living in Dallas, which is a relatively mild city overall. So that you need to take into context. I use a lot of power. I have 5 people who are running computers around the clock. We have air conditioning running around the clock in much of the house. I have studio lights. I have nonstop editing stuff going on, all those things. So we're using way more power than a retiree, for example, would, or a normal work from home person, because we're all working. We have offices, we have staff come sometimes to work out of the house. It adds up. We often have guests staying, so we're often hosting lots of people. So just be aware, we use a lot of power. Our bill is high. Your bill will be higher here than it would be somewhere else, but it is not the nightmare levels that you may hear. At least that's not our experience. Also, if you live in the city center, the cost goes down. If you move farther out, I'm sorry, the other way around. If you live in the city center, the cost goes up. If you move farther out, the cost goes down. So your electricity, like here, my new office, will probably cost less than it did when I lived in the middle of the city. It's a kind of a weird thing, but you get a cost break by getting outside of the city center. And as last question, do you have a drone or plan to get a permit for having one down there? If I had a permit, I would have a drone, no question. I'm planning to get 2. If you really want to know, I want to get the first-person drone and the Mini 3 from DJI. I do use some DJI equipment for other things. I really like them. I really want to get their drones, absolutely. It is so high on my list to get. I do need to get that permit first. I have a couple things going on in country that are holding me up from applying for the permit. It is on my list. My lawyer is aware that we're going to file it, and we're in talks about when to do so. So yes, it is on my list. I do know that I believe LG was able to get one, but it is a hard process, and you kind of have to establish yourself before you're going to have a chance to get one if you're going to do that. That's it. Thanks everybody for joining me. I hope those answers were useful and help you out, Jay, and anyone else who's looking at Nicaragua. And I hope the upload here is fast enough that we get the video out for tomorrow morning. I will see all of you. And don't forget, you can sponsor the show by buying me a coffee. I will see all of you tomorrow.